Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of the 25 Giro d'Italia. Before we get in today's stage, I want to ask for a favor from you guys that can possibly help out because we got the Cascade Cycling Downtown Criterium coming on for June 14th, and we're highlighting the young kids. All the junior kids get free entry fees. If you're traveling with 3 or more bike racers and your junior kids, you get a $500 stipend, and we'll find you guys some free housing. But we'd love to have some extra donations to help pay for the event coming up. If you can, we'll put the link down below. If you can help out with any kind of small donations whatsoever, be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into today's stage 5 of the Giro d'Italia, because at 151 kilometers, I'll call it 95 miles in length, with one category climb that they call a category 4, that's about 2.5 kilometers long with 10% sections, it comes just under 30 kilometers to go. But we know at 10% that the pure sprinters could suffer on this climb. But we also know that Mads Pedersen has won already stage 1 and stage 3 here of the Giro d'Italia, both of them with some climbing late in the stage. So you know Lidl Trek's going to want to keep the race leader's pink jersey for Mads Pedersen. Now there's some other big news that happened this morning before the Giro stage started. Mads Pedersen has signed a lifetime contract with Lidl Trek. So we know right now the rider from Denmark is going to be super motivated. Now, I brought it up in earlier videos beyond the coverage that Mads Pedersen might have to be looking for different teams if Lidl Trek don't sign him. But with a lifetime contract signed up, well, he's off the table. So if you're a UAE team member, you might want to sign Vasek because his contract isn't signed up for next year. And you know for sure Tadej Pogačar wants some kind of classic power put on his team. Vasek seems to be the rider to have that kind of form. So let's look and see how Mads Pedersen in pink and Vasek in white go throughout today's stage 5 of the Giro. Now, when the cameras come on proper, we see 3 riders up in the front group there. We've got Davide Baez from Polti up there. Then we got Lorenzo Milesi up there from Movistar. And Arkea Samsic's up there, Josue Apis. With those 3 riders going up the road and Lidl Trek setting the tempo at the back of the peloton back there, we'll see Apis grab the 2 sprint competitions up front. As we see back in the peloton, Mads Pedersen's grabbing him some more bonuses back there as he's ahead of Olaf Koy. That's his biggest direct competition here at the Giro d'Italia in 2025. With those 2 sprints wrapped up, we're going to go into the Red Bull sprint competition as we see Apis from Arkea Samsic. He grabs up all of the sprints and blows away his 2 breakaway companions right now. We're going to come under 45 kilometers to go. Milesi and Davide Baez are going to attack Apis from Arkea Samsic because he's dropped off while he's getting some water out of his bottle. As the 2 riders are going up the road right now, we see the peloton getting interested back there, and things are starting to get nervous as we're coming into this category 4 climb. Once we see the road start to narrow up, the 2 riders up front are going to start with just under 2 minutes of a gap on the peloton behind, and then we start seeing everything nervous back there as the road gets a little more narrow and it's going more curb to curb. As we go about 1 kilometer, 500 meters into this climb, it's time for UAE team members to get on the front. It's Jay Vine throwing down. Now, throughout the first 4 stages, with the exception of the first stage where UAE team members were a little bit discombobulated back there on stage 1, otherwise they've been racing pretty good and saving some energy throughout the first 4 stages here of the Giro. But right now, Jay Vine's throwing down on the front, and I don't really get this tactic. But as he's throwing down on the front, the sprinters back there aren't going to be very happy because once we start going back to the back of the peloton, we start seeing riders come out the back like Bram Welton from Picnic. We see Ethan Hayter from Pseudo Quickstep come out the back. Jacopo Moscow and Nico Dins, those are super domestiques for both Bora Hansgrohe and Lidl Trek. Those guys are getting dropped off the back. And then we're going to see Milan Frenton start coming out the back for Cofidis. Next up, all those guys got some company because we're going to see Olaf Koy and Sam Bennett from Arkea Samsic getting dropped too from the pace up there of Jay Vine as he's throwing down at the front of the peloton, but not really blowing up the front of the peloton. So I don't really get this tactic at this moment. Are you trying to blow the race up, or are you trying to help Lidl Trek and pull Bora Hansgrohe's Primož Roglič, the big-time favorite to win the 25 Giro d'Italia? Are you just going to pull these guys along right now? Is that what Jay Vine's trying to do? Is he's pulling hard on the front of the peloton? UAE team members haven't used much energy throughout the Giro d'Italia. This doesn't seem like the stage to do it, and if it is, then go all in and start attacking. Instead, Jay Vine's just throwing down on the front. front. And once we get up to the top, we see it's Malaysia up there from Movistar that's grabbing maximum KOM points. They're going over the top. We'll call it a minute and 20-second gap on the peloton behind, being led by Jay Vine and UAE Team Emirates. Now, Caden Grove's going to be the last big-time sprinter that's starting to get dropped near the top of this climb, so he's going to have to suffer on the back of the peloton as UAE Team Emirates are dropping down this twisty technical descent. Once they get to the false flat area here, we see a split in the peloton, and Jay Vine with UAE Team Emirates kind of lined up on the back of his wheel, along with Mads Pedersen and Vasek and a host of Lidl Trek riders. They're all in a fantastic position where the split's about 35 riders strong, but directly behind them we see another 35 riders starting to close up the gap. We start looking further back to the bigger group of 25 that has Caden Groves back there, and just in front of this group we see it's Tibieri from Bahrain Victorious. He went top 5 here at the Giro d'Italia and won the youth competition at last year's 2024 Giro. He's missed the split, but he's closing up the gap to the back of the GC favorites up there, as we see Wout van Aert and Steven Kruijswijk doing the same thing. As they're closing up, they're going to bring Caden Groves back on. Now, the peloton's still pretty big in size, and UAE Team Emirates have been on the front. I don't get it. Unless you're going to blow it up, blow it up. Otherwise, attack left and right. Otherwise, save some energy. But don't just ride the front and ride tempo where the guys from behind are capable of closing the gap. And Jay Vine's been riding on the front. Maybe he had some help from Igor Arieta up there. But in general, you cannot blow the group up and hold everyone off unless you're going to go full gas with your team. So it just looks like wasted energy. But even though there was only a Category 2 climb that was listed here on today's Stage 5 of the Giro, there's still 3 more climbs to come. And we're coming into about 18 kilometers to go, and the peloton's getting nervous as we see everyone going curb to curb, but Lidl Trek's all over the front in good position. UAE Team Emirates are still doing the same MO there as we're starting this next non-categorized climb, but really this climb is about 5.5 kilometers long at 4.5%. They'll go over the top of the climb pretty much intact, and then we drop down into the false flat, coming into the just before 6 kilometers to go, where the next climb is going to start, the penultimate climb. Now this climb, same thing. It's not wicked steep. I'll call it about 4%, maybe 3.5%, but it's going to be vicious on the legs because the speeds are going to be blazing fast up this climb, as we see Q36.5 on the front, and Lidl Trek's Dan Uhl's just locked up behind him with about 6-7 Lidl Trek riders on the wheel there. As this climb starts, Q36.5 starts to blow, and then we see Dan Uhl start riding the front. Now they're doing some fast pace up here. We're talking about 40 kilometers an hour going up this climb with Lidl Trek throwing down, and then we see Visma Lease Bike start coming in the picture. When we're looking at Visma Lease Bike, that right there is Dylan Van Barley. Wout van Aert's one of them. Bart Lemans, another rider that's up there for Visma Lease Bike. And then, of course, Simon Yates is there. We look at the back of the peloton. 2 Visma Lease Bike riders are getting dropped at the back, and Steven Kruijswijk's one of them. As we go back up front, we start to see Dylan Van Barley start to blow on the left side of the peloton as he's starting to drop back. Now, Wout van Aert's on the front. The big guy from Visma Lease Bike's driving it. Simon Yates is there and Bart Lemans there. But when we start looking over to the right side, we got Team Ineos on the right side. And Egan Bernal's in good position, along with Mads Pedersen and Vasek and Ciccone are all lined up in good position too. Now we start seeing Ineos get on the front. This is Lucas Hamilton. Lucas Hamilton's throwing down because he wants to put Egan Bernal in a good position. But again, unless you want to start attacking, I don't know if you need to be setting pace right now for Bora Hansgrohe's or Lidl Trek's Mads Pedersen right now. But Ineos are throwing some big-time efforts as we see Hamilton throwing down on the pedals. And this is when Lidl Trek start losing some riders as Dan Uhl and Patrick Conrad and along with Verona are starting to get dropped. That's going to leave 3 Lidl Trek riders at the front. Vasek's still there, Ciccone's there, and Mads Pedersen, of course, is locked on. After the speed there from Lucas Hamilton, Bart Lemans gets on the front, going down the descent here for Visma Lease Bike, or I should say just over the top of the summit as he's dropping down, bringing the speeds up over 50 kilometers an hour, stringing it out. Again, what's Bart Lemans doing? I don't know for sure. Simon Yates is there, but it seems like he should either be attacking and trying to go up the road and play a tactical game here against Lidl Trek and Bora Hansgrohe, or at least not be pulling the peloton. Maybe save the legs for another day, or save the legs if Simon Yates would need you later in this stage. Either way, we see that it's Visma Lease Bike on the front of the group there, and we're coming just about at 3 kilometers to go. 2.5 kilometers to go is the last real super obstacle if you're not going to do the sprint to try to win stage 5 anyways. But at this under 3 kilometers to go is a 1 kilometer section thereabouts. I'll call it 700 meters, and we're talking 10% section. So we know for sure that Primoz Roglic wants to be at the front, and that's why you see Pedersen flying around the left side of the peloton. If I back the film up multiple times, you'll see that Bora Hansgrohe haven't been on the front of the peloton, but they've always been near the front, and Primoz Roglic has always been chilling like a villain on today's stage 5. But right now, Pedersen's flying around the left side as we're coming into this tight, narrow bend, as all the riders are going to get corralled into the right turn to start this last 700-meter super steep section. As they start to climb, Pedersen looks back. Primoz Roglic decides it's time to go to work as he starts throwing down on the pedals. And then he looks back over his shoulder and goes, nah, just playing with your guys' balls back there, because Vasic's looking really strong from Lidl Trek. Mads Pedersen's on his wheel too. So Primoz Roglic just backs off the throttle and goes, I'm going to save some more energy. I was just messing with you guys. As he backs off the throttle, Vasic takes over the front. Then we see the overhead picture. Mads Pedersen starts hurting along with Ciccone, and they start opening up the gap. I don't know if Ciccone's actually hurting, but Mads Pedersen's definitely hurting. The gap starts to open up, and then on the right side, we see Del Toro from UAE team members come flying up to the back wheel there of Vasek, as Vasek's throwing in some massive power on the pedals right here on this last 700-meter steep section here of stage 5. As Vasek's throwing down, he starts looking over his shoulder, and we start seeing Mads Pedersen. He's just drifting further and further and further back in the peloton there, as Vasek's still on the front. Then he finally starts backing off the throttle, and you can see as the kilometer reading there on the lower part of the corner of the screen, it starts dropping down to about 22 kilometers an hour as they're nearing the summit of this 700-meter climb. Only problem is Vasek's going through this right turn, looking right over his shoulder to try to figure out where Mads Pedersen is. We see Bahrain Victorious throw an attack. That's Caruso. Damiano Caruso, the Italian rider here for Bahrain Victorious, throws in acceleration. What does Vasek do? Well, he does the only thing he can do at this moment. He stays on the front of the peloton and accelerates and starts bringing back the Bahrain Victorious rider. As we look at the overhead shot, though, we see that Mads Pedersen sitting about 35th, 40th position right now near the back of this group of favorites. Now, as we see Bahrain Victorious get pulled back from Vasek, the next attack is going to come from Movistars. That's Lewis, their sprinter. Lewis has been podium here already at stages of the Giro d'Italia. Now he's trying to attack to go up the road as they're going into this left bend with about 1.1 kilometer to go. It's the Movistar rider throwing in acceleration as Mads Pedersen has made up 5 or 6 spots at the back of the group there on the left side. Now we come through this left and we see Vasek pulls back Lewis again, and next thing you know, he finds himself on the front going under just about the 1K banner. As he goes under the banner, we see Mads Pedersen still at the back of the peloton, about 35th position. But then next up is going to be Edward Planker from Alpecin de Koenig. Now, I told you guys, Caden got dropped on that climb when we're talking about just under 30 kilometers to go, near the summit of it, found his way back on with 22 kilometers to go. So Plankert's at the front right now, but he's starting to slow it down, and that's why we see the peloton go wide. As it starts to go wide with 950 meters to 900 meters to go, we look at the 2 picnic riders. That's Bardet and Poole back there, as Bardet's throwing in acceleration. And guess what? Mads is coming along with the duo there from Picnic, and he's not coming for a picnic right now, but he's sitting third wheel there as post-Picnic is coming up, and we're coming into this next right bend with about 750 meters to go. As the Picnic duo up there come flying through with Bardet and Poole in second place, Mads Pedersen sees his teammate Vasek, who has controlled the front of the peloton here at stage 5 of the Giro, almost brilliantly. If I bring you back to that 700-meter climb, he's a bit of a knucklehead going up that climb. But wait, because there's going to be some information in the interviews afterwards on exactly why he wasn't a knucklehead. But at that moment when he was going up, I thought he was. But here he looks brilliant as he's slotting again right in front of Mads Pedersen. Once they come out of this left bend, Mads Pedersen sitting fourth wheel on his wheel Vasek. And then Vasek's coming up to 450, 475 meters to go as they exit the corner. He starts coming by the duo there of Picnic riders. and he's just sitting upright on his bars. He passes those guys sitting down in his saddle with just power on the pedals. Then at 400 meters to go, you see him drop from the top of his hoods down to the bars there as it's time to go to work. So right now with Vasek getting ready to go to work, we see that Mads Pedersen sit in second position, and there's a host of favorites back there. Castor's in the picture. We see that Orluis from Movistar, who threw in that attack at 1.1 kilometer to go, he's in a good position. And we see Tom Pidcock's in a good position too, along with FDJ, Quentin Pashur. That's just a little bit out of position, but he'll get himself in as we go up to this next left turn. It's a double left at 375 meters to go. And as I already told you guys, Vasek is in the drops and ready to put some power down. As he goes through this left bend with Mads on his wheel, he comes out with a very, very short 50-meter straightaway. And as Vasek's on the front, Mads sitting second, Orluis third. Look at Quentin Pashur passing between these two corners as we dive through the next left. Quentin Pashur from FDJ is going to take Orluis off the wheel and slot on to Mads Pedersen. We look further back. Tom Pidcock's in good position, though. So we know if we come out of this last final corner here of stage 5 of the Giro with Vasek on the front, he's going to start to throw in his sprint as we see him get out of the saddle, throw in his acceleration. We're coming just at about 225 meters to go, and then bam, it's time for Mads Pedersen to accelerate on the pedals. As he started his acceleration, Tom Pidcock started his acceleration as he's coming from about 4th position right behind the FDJ rider. He starts his acceleration to the left side as Mads Pedersen starts his acceleration. Then Tom Pidcock comes up, and he's got Orluis as Mads Pedersen's throwing in acceleration. Orluis and Tom are side by side, so Orluis has to back off the throttle because he's got Vasek in front of him and Tom Pidcock to the left of him. Now Orluis has to back off. Mads Pedersen is not backing off. He's throwing down hard on the acceleration with 150 meters to go. He's accelerating at 125. All of a sudden, Eduardo Zambini from Bahrain Victorious is coming flying up the left side. Where did he come from? Let's back the film up to those last two left corners as we see Eduardo Zambini there was in about 11th, 12th position, right around the same position as Primoz Roglic. But now with 150 meters and 125 meters to go, Zambini's flying up the left side. Mads Pedersen is still trying to fight out the acceleration here as he's going hard on the pedals. But we come into about 75 meters to go. Tom Pidcock coming up the right side of Mads Pedersen, and on the left side, Zambini has found himself in the picture, and guys, he's coming fast. 40 meters to go. Mads Pedersen drifts a little bit to the right and opens up the left side lane for Zambini. As he's drifting to the right, we see Tom Pidcock's front wheel almost overlap with the back wheel there of Mads Pedersen side by side. Then Tom Pidcock holds it up and starts to accelerate, but his legs are starting to blow. So as he's starting to blow, Zambini's coming into the picture as he's getting up about half a bike length there on Mads Pedersen. 10 meters to go. We see Tom Pidcock drifts a little bit out of the picture, but it's a two-way battle going here between Mads Pedersen and Zambini to the line as Mads Pedersen throws his bike at perfect timing right now. He throws his bike. Zambini throws his bike on the left. Mads Pedersen will cross the line. Zambini will be screaming as he crosses the line, but Mads Pedersen's head's down. He doesn't know if he won for sure. So Mads Pedersen drifts over to the right, stops his bike, starts dripping some water on him, and then all of a sudden we see Ciccone come in the picture that taps Mads Pedersen on the shoulder and tells him, "I'm pretty certain you won today's race." Mads Pedersen gets a little bit excited, but not too excited till you see the thumbs come up from the staff member just in front. Then all of a sudden there's a Lidl Trek party right there with Ciccone and Mads Pedersen celebrating a stage 5 victory here of the Giro d'Italia. Now we go back to see who was third. That's Tom Pidcock to get his first podium here at the Giro d'Italia in 2025. But Mads Pedersen has his third victory here at the Giro d'Italia after signing a lifelong contract with Lidl Trek. Congratulations, Mads Pedersen, on the contract first, and then I'll congratulate you second for the third victory here at the 25 Giro d'Italia. Now, Mads Pedersen will increase his pink jersey time here with the time bonuses on the victory here for stage 5. So he's 17 seconds up on Primoz Roglic to start tomorrow's stage 6 of the Giro, where it looks like he should be able to hold it. But when we start looking at some of the details back on today's stage, what I'm talking about, I'm not certain what UAE team members were trying to do. Well, I'm certain they were trying to help Del Toro win this stage, but it didn't seem like a very very wise tactic. I'd have preferred attacking and seeing what's going to happen. If you're going to try to get rid of Primoz Roglic and Mads Pedersen, you got to get rid of them, or at least put the whole team on the front and drill it as hard as you can to get rid of the pure sprinters, at least on that 700-meter steep section. But pulling for 20 kilometers thereabouts on today's stage, I didn't quite get it. Seemed like a waste of energy from Jay Vine's legs, but they did the job. They came up with inside the top 10 there for Del Toro on the sprint. So I didn't like that tactic. Also, when it comes to Visma bike, I didn't like their tactic either, riding on the front there with Bart Lemon. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. Q36.5 when they were riding, I didn't like that tactic either. Attack or go up the road, same MO. But when it's all said and done, when we're talking Lidl Trek, Vasek said in his interview, because remember, let me bring you back, where I almost called him a knucklehead on today's stage for dropping Mads Pedersen going up that climb. But in his interview, it was spectacular, his interview, by the way. He says Mads Pedersen came up to him and basically said to set some tempo going up the climb, or set some hard tempo going up the climb. And Vasek's legs are so good that he just blew everyone up the road off the wheel, and then, of course, had to back off. But it almost cost Lidl Trek's Mads Pedersen the stage victory here on stage 5. It wasn't the cleanest of clean victories here for Mads Pedersen, but they got the job done, and they weren't quite knuckleheads, because I'm sure there was just a communication between Vasek and Mads Pedersen at the finish of today's race when they're going up that 700-meter climb. So Vasek, fantastic job. You're a monster. Certainly you got a chance at winning some legitimate stages here at the 25 Giro d'Italia. And Mads Pedersen, enjoy your contract and enjoy your 3rd victory here at the Giro d'Italia. Like and subscribe for everybody else, and I'll see you guys for stage 6 of the Butterfly Effect.